Hello, my name is Beth and I make videos on YouTube about knitting and crochet. Today I'm going to take you through my 2026 plans. So in this video I am going to take you through my Make 9, which is 9 projects or project categories that I'd like to complete this year. I'm going to take you through the whips that I'm taking into 2026, as well as some kind of broader knitting and crochet goals. First off, let's talk about the whips that I will be taking with me into 2026. First off, I have the Maple Meadow cardigan by Famke by Memphi the label. And I'll put this down so I can show you how far I am. So this is my first one. I have to be a bit careful with it because I have 2 balls of yarn attached to it. I am alternating skeins because this is a hand-dyed yarn. And I have just attached under the armholes. There you can see. And I am into the body of this cardigan. Ideally, I would like to have this finished by January, but I'm also considering a Finish It February series. So if it doesn't get finished in January, it will definitely be finished as part of my Finish It February series. Looking forward to having that one finished. The next whip I am taking with me into 2026 is The Fireplace Cat by Sarah Elizabeth Kellner. This was a last minute cast on in December 2025. I was given this book by my date for my birthday in November, and then was given the yarn to make a mini Bonnie for Christmas from the same person. So if Bonnie could move out the way, she's currently stepping all over her miniature self. It doesn't look like much, but currently this is the body of my fireplace cat. So I'm knitting it in the round on DPNs. I've almost finished the body. So the hole here is where the head would go, and I'm currently knitting a kind of curved tube to replicate a coiled up cat. I would also like to have this finished by no later than February, but also I'm planning on duplicate stitching all of the different browns onto this rather than knitting an intarsia. We'll see how long that takes me, but that's another one. The next whip I'm taking with me into 2026 is hopefully going to be finished by the time this video is released, but it is the second half of my Fioriti socks by Lisa Schmidt. I am just working up the heel flap and I will soon be into the body of the foot. I am so close to having this pair of socks done, and I'm already excited about the next pair I have lined up. And I'm back at work. I'm back to knitting on the tube. So all of those things combined, I'm hoping to have this sock completed very shortly. And my last whip that I'm taking into 2026 with me, I will not hold in my hands because it is so big, is my temperature blanket. I am giving myself one more year to get this done. I am almost at sub 100 rows left. I think currently I'm at 103, and I had a really good run at it over December, but I've had another little break. So I really need to get my head back in the game and start to get a few more rows done before the summer hits and it gets too hot. And then if I do have anything left, I will pick it back up in the autumn winter time. I'd really love this finished before my next birthday, so that would be in November. But I've had so many stops and starts with this blanket that I'm just not sure. Not only is it a whip going into 2026, it has also made it as the center square onto my Make 9. So I have lots of reasons to try to get it finished this year. So now that we've gone through all of my whips, I shall put up the little Make 9 board that I've made for myself. I just whipped this up in Canva, so I'm quite excited to have a little visual representation. So I'm going to take you through the squares one by one. First up, I'd like to make a jumper for my partner, for my live-in partner, and he really liked the look of the Zipper Sweater Light by Petite Knit, which is lovely. He wanted a plainer jumper, but I think the zipper construction will make it interesting for me. So quite excited to get started on this one. I do not have the yarn for it, so it'll probably be a bit later in the year that I start this, and may even be a Christmas present for next December. but we'll see. Maybe I'll get the bug. Maybe I'll get the gift knitting bug in middle of the year. So I haven't set timelines for when I'd like all of these done. It's just general plans throughout 2026. The next square I have is a dress. Now I have 2 options for dresses and 4 patterns, so 2 patterns for each option, and I may do none of them, or I could do 2. So the first option would be more of a summer style dress. I'm thinking the Milady's dress by Beth Knit or the Coastline mini dress by Olga Knitwear Design. I really love both of these dresses. I think if I did the Coastline mini, I would extend it a bit because I'm not so keen on mini skirts, but I think I'd be happy with either of these options. These are definitely more of a long-term project. These are both knit on fingering weight yarn, and they're obviously going to be quite long. I will probably wait until the spring to maybe have a go at these, but we shall see. They look beautiful. But the other option I would have for a dress is a jumper style, so something a bit thicker. And for this, I'd really like to do either the Augustins 21 or 35 by Anne-Sophie Velling. Both of these are beautiful dresses that are just knitted in a slightly thicker gauge, so they're much more of a jumper style. I think they look less intimidating. Apart from one of them, I think it's a 35, is a complete lacework jumper. And that's actually, the pattern is originally a jumper, but I saw someone make a dress version of it and it's beautiful. So I'm quite tempted to do the same. I actually have a 5th pattern for this section, which is the Stumble dress by Lydia Morrow, which kind of sits in between the two. It's not a like height of summer dress because I think it's made in like a fingering weight wool, but it's not a thick jumper dress. And it looks really lovely and casual, and the samples that they have knitted up on the Ravelry page are in really bright colours. That appeals to me a lot. Obviously, I will not be knitting 5 dresses, but I wanted to create more of a menu rather than the set patterns, so I could really see how I feel at any given moment. My next square is more of a category rather than any patterns that I have decided for it. I inherited a lot of patterns from my Nana when she was not able to knit anymore, and now she's sadly passed. I would really like to knit a pattern from one of her collections. I have about 5 or 6 books from her, but I also have folders of patterns, and I'd really like to knit something from that collection. I haven't got a set idea of what kind of garment I'd like to make. I think I'd like to spend an afternoon with all of the books and the patterns and post-it note a few of them, and then maybe I'll go through them with you and you can help me decide what I should do. Next up, I have a square that just says more vests. So I finished this one at the end of last year and it's already getting a lot of use. And I only have this one and one other vest, which is made from acrylic and isn't wearing very well. So ideally, I'd like to replace that one and add more to my wardrobe. So I have 2 vest patterns that I would love to get to this year. One of them I've made before, that is the Swirl Slipover by Twin Knits, which is actually the same pattern of the one I'd like to replace. So I would love to knit this in a pink colour to mostly go with this shirt. And I know I'm already wearing a vest with this shirt, but can you have enough vests? No, probably not. So I'd love to do that one again. It was a really lovely pattern to do, and I'd like to do it in a merino yarn with a mohair and really give it that just lush, squishy, yummy texture. And hopefully have a piece that wears a bit better than the one I have now. The other vest that I would love to get to is the Lulu Slipover by Petite Knit. I don't know what it is about this pattern. I think the little buttons at the side really got me, and I have not been able to get this pattern out of my head since I saw it. I'd love to use the same yarn for this as for my partner's jumper, and I'd make this first so he can get a feel of how soft it is and if he would tolerate it in a piece for him, just so he can get an idea before he then commits to a whole jumper of it. Next up is my centre square. I mentioned it before, I want to finish my temperature blanket. This year is the year. I can feel it. It's going to happen. I really hope it happens. So I will keep you updated on how this one goes, and I'm planning on a video about if you should commit to making a temperature blanket. Well, I guess either once I've finished it or once I've decided to frog it. Like I said, I'm giving it one more year. That's currently my centre square. The other thing that has been really on my mind lately is a cobalt blue piece, something in a bright blue that just springs out. Now, I have a few issues with this in that I don't have a lot of that style of like electric blue in my wardrobe, and I don't have a lot of things that would go with it. I do own a couple of pair of jeans, so it's not like I wouldn't be able to wear it, but it's not a piece that would coordinate in my wardrobe as much as my other pieces do. But I also don't think I care. On the flip side of that is that I don't have a piece like this, and I would like one. Cobalt blue has me in a bit of a chokehold at the minute, and I keep looking on Vinted for electric blue yarn, and I keep looking at different hand-dyed options. So I would like a cobalt blue piece. Now, I have a couple of patterns that I've picked out, but I think I know what the front runner is. So the front runner is the Northern Augustines number 4 by Anne-Sophie Velling. It is the classic cream and red bow sweater that a lot of people have been making, and it looks amazing. I think that hopefully in the electric blue that I'm picturing, it will come across as less Christmassy and more just general winter wear. And I am thinking about making the bows in either an icy blue or a bright white, so it's really very a crisp, cool toned jumper. That's my hope, but I do have a backup option. So my backup option is the Marielle blouse by Maria She Mogenstadt. I have been in a bit of a pointel lace motif groove. Both my Fioriti socks and my Maple Meadow cardigan both have the little lace triangle design on it. So this would be another piece that also has this lace triangle design, but it's also very pretty. And I think in a really punchy electric blue, it would just be something that I don't have and would like. So they're my two options. This next one is a bit of a wild card. I watched Man on the Inside season 2 recently, and I was absolutely struck by Dee Dee's jumper in one of the episodes. It is this stripy, oversized rugby shirt style knit, and it was knit in this fuzzy petrol green and like a warm brown. And that jumper has been living in my mind rent-free since I watched the episode, and I want it. I don't know if I'd make it in the exact colours. I love the tealy petrol blue, but the warmer brown I think wouldn't necessarily fit in my wardrobe. So I'm thinking of subbing that colour in for a lilac, but I'd really love to make a very similar piece in this style. And I think I found the pattern that I'm going to use. I am thinking about using the pattern Polo number 1 by My Favourite Things Knitwear. Buttoned up, it looks a bit more put together than the piece in the TV show, but I think unbuttoned with more of a fuzzy yarn, it could work really well. This is one of the pieces that I'd love to take you along with me as I try and figure it out. My next square is I would like to make another colourwork piece. I am getting so much wear out of my Forget Me Not jumper by Florence Miller, and I'm just ready to do another colourwork piece. I have 2 patterns that are on my list that I might do, but also I'm very open to picking a different colourwork jumper at the time where I feel like making one. This is the Brigid sweater by Megan Horton. It is stunning. It looks very intimidating, but as I told myself when I finished my Forget Me Not sweater, the more challenging it looks, the easier the floats tend to be to manage, because the more intricate the pattern is, the more you're swapping those colours and the gaps between colours are smaller. So you don't have to think about things like holding long floats too much. I really hope I can put that theory to the test by trying this out. It's also far more colours than I worked for in my last colourwork project. But I love this. I would be very tempted to knit it in the colours of the pattern sample, but I would also like to challenge myself by picking a colour palette myself. The other option for this category is the Snow Fleur by Saskia & Co. This pattern has been on my favourites for ages, even way before I did my last colourwork jumper. It's on there as part of the menu. Like I said in the choosing my first colourwork jumper video, I would pretty much like to stick to the colours of the sample, but invert the dark and light colour. There is a colourwork jumper in my future. I would definitely like to knit another colourwork piece this year. And my last category on my Make 9 is Make More Summer Tops. I have 4 patterns for this category that I am so excited to make. I'm going to save most of these patterns for the spring and summer because they are great projects to take on holiday, and the yarn is much nicer to work with in the hotter summer months. So the first top that I want to make is another camisole number 9 by My Favourite Things Knitwear. I have 2 of these already, and I'd really like one in a cream colour or a white colour. I'd just like to kick out a third one and just round out the core basics in my wardrobe. The next one I'd like to try is the Plot Twist Hank by Jamie Creates. This pattern has beautiful cables running down the sides and at all of the hems, and I'm really picturing this in a lilac colour. For those of you who have seen my videos before, you'll know that lilac is one of my favourite colours. I have lots of pieces already in lilac, but not any tank tops. So I feel like that's a gap I need to address. The next top I'd like to make is the Taya by Audrey Borrego. This is more of a t-shirt style, and I think this is so cool. I am picturing this in a bunch of stripes, and I love the split hem as well and the quite deep rib of it. Very excited to have a more t-shirt style. I have one knit t-shirt that has been really successful this year, and I'd like to keep adding to it. And the last top for this section is the Top Sole by Mochi Knits. There's something about this one, and I'm going to leave this one as a maybe rather than a must, because in theory I shouldn't like this. I am not really one that likes to have my chest very visible. It's one of the parts of myself that, as a non-binary person, I don't super love to draw attention to at the moment. In theory, something that ties down the centre shouldn't appeal to me. I don't know if it's just the styling in this picture, but I am intrigued, and I think I do want one. This is one that I would love to see if I have scraps for. I have some leftover Noro that I don't know if it's soft enough to go in this kind of a top, and I also don't know if I have enough of it, so we'll see. This I'm going to leave on here as a maybe, as a play around with. It's an option. It's on the menu. So alongside my Make 9, I also have 3 crafting goals. The first goal is I would love to make 12 pairs of socks. 2025 was my first year knitting socks. This will be my second. And they are also just my preferred travel project. They're the projects that I end up doing on the tube, on my commute. And I thought it might be fun to challenge myself to see if I could make 12. I have quite a bit of sock yarn already, so it would go towards also destashing a little bit. It's one of those that if I don't make 12 pairs, then fine, it's not the end of the world. But I just think it would be so cool. So averaging about 1 pair of socks a month. My second knitting goal of the year is to replace some of the objects I have in my wardrobe by either making similar or the exact same items. I have a couple of items in mind that I want to update. They're looking quite raggedy. They're either jumpers that I made in the past or just old shop bought ones which are not looking their best anymore. My last crafting goal for this year is I would like to keep on top of my yarn scraps and stash. I don't like having a big stash. I find it really weighs on my mind and gives me a fair amount of anxiety, or it just takes up a lot of my brain space because I'm constantly thinking about patterns to use it up Whereas ideally, I'd like to get to the point where I have the project I'm working on and maybe the next project, and have that yarn and then a small box of scraps that I keep on top of. I'd really like to get to that point again this year. So my last section for goals is actually 3 YouTube goals that I'd like to keep doing over 2026. Or I'd like to aim for over 2026. I would like to keep posting videos twice in a month, so every 2 weeks. I've gotten into quite a good flow now, and I have quite a few video ideas lined up. This will be my first full year posting. I haven't actually hit my 1-year anniversary yet. I'm going to keep doing this until it's not fun, but for this year, I would like to continue to post every fortnight. My next goal, which is slightly out of my hands, but I'm kind of having in the back of my head, is I would really love to reach 1,000 subscribers this year. I have been very slowly, every video, gaining a couple of more of you every couple of weeks. And I am utterly grateful that there's anyone out there that is actually watching. It's a bit of a silly goal considering I don't really have much to do with it other than making content that I love and want to put out there. I thought I'd just have it as this is a nice one to aim for. And again, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. And my last YouTube goal is I would like to learn a new editing software. I bought a new Mac for myself, and by the time that this video comes out, I will have actually edited this video on my new Mac. Up until this point, I have been using iMovie on my old Mac, and I actually bought the educational bundle of programs, so I will get access to Final Cut Pro, and I'm quite excited to be moving up from iMovie, mostly because iMovie's fine, but it definitely has some issues with it and some limitations, and I'm excited to expand my horizons. And that's pretty much it. I've not really done a timeline of if I can fit this all in a year, so this might be totally unrealistic. But having done my everything I made in 2025 and was faced with all of the things that I made this year, I feel like it's not out of the realms of possibility. And the bonus is some of my Make 9, I can combine them on, especially some of the colours and colour worky bits. I'm excited to have created a bit of a menu for myself, so hopefully choosing projects will be a bit easier. I'm also going to do some projects that I didn't mention at all. These are just the kind of the headline ones. I am excited to continue to make videos. I'm excited to share what I'm making with you. I would really like to know, what are you making during 2026? Do you have any headline pieces that you would like to make? Also, if you have any sock patterns that you absolutely adore, preferably free ones, but I am open to paying for some sock patterns if I think they're utterly beautiful. I've got at least 8 slots that I need to fill, so please let me know what your favourite sock patterns are or sock pattern designers, and I will have a little look through those. Thanks in advance for anyone who leaves patterns in my comments. But for now, thank you so much for watching all of my 2026 plans and goals, and I will see you in the next one, hopefully. Bye.